Hey everybody, this is Tacho here, and today I'm just going to give you guys a bit of advice on how to rack up those defense wins in Fire Emblem Heroes. Now, I know this is something that a lot of people have trouble with, and some people can even go an entire arena season without a defense win, and that's no good, because having just one defense win is all it takes to get those extra feathers, so there's really no reason not to try and get that defense win, and hopefully by the end of this video, you're going to be swimming in so many defense wins, you're not even going to be able to keep count of all of them. So, here are a couple of Tacho tips to help you guys out on your defense endeavors. So, my first bit of advice for you guys is to always have a dancer on your defense team. Now, I know that dancers aren't really ideal for arena offense, because they have really low base stat totals, and that can hurt your score more than help you in battle. So most people have stopped running dancers on arena offense, but when it comes to arena defense, it's always a good idea to have a dancer on your team. That's because they can provide an extra turn to one of your units, and that just adds a layer of unpredictability to how your team is going to move, and it makes it a lot harder for the opponent to actually read what's going to happen in battle. So that's why you're always going to want to have a dancer on your defense team, and I would also recommend that the dancer you choose be a melee-based dancer with only one range of attack. That's because the ranged dancers such as Inigo and Shigure are more likely to overextend and be baited by the opponent, and you don't want that. You want your dancer to be sticking by the crowd and always dancing instead of attacking. So by having a dancer with one range of attack, this is going to go a long way, and it's going to help a lot more than having that ranged dancer. And of course the best dancer for this is going to be Performing Arts Azura, but sadly, not everyone has her because she was a seasonal unit. So don't worry about that too much. You can also get away with either Olivia or regular Azura or even Ninian if you have her. Alright, so moving on to my next tip for you guys. I'm recommending that you guys try out the Deflect skills in the Sacred Seal slot. That includes Deflect Melee, Deflect Missile, and Deflect Magic. These are excellent skills and they're actually being very underrated, especially because they're so good to have on defense teams. Now, let me just give you guys a couple of examples of how these deflect skills can really come in handy. So let's take Ike for example. He's a really bulky red sword, but he doesn't have that much speed. So if opponents in the arena are going to bait him with a lance unit, it's very likely that they're going to be able to double him. So having deflect melee will really help him out in this situation. Now, what's going to happen is, because the CPU is controlling your defense team, they're going to make some really bad moves, and it's very likely that they will fall for your opponent's trap and just let their units get baited. So it's almost a guarantee that a unit like Ike is going to be fighting a blue lance unit. Most likely one with Swordbreaker as well, just to guarantee the double. So how you can turn the tables on your opponent is by having Deflect Melee on Ike, and if he attacks a sword-breaking blue lance, Ike is going to attack first, and then the foe is going to double him, and the second hit that they do is going to be reduced by 80% damage. So that makes it very likely that Ike will survive the hit, and because of this, you've already thrown the opponent off guard, because just having a unit survive a round of combat in arena play is devastating. As you all know, arena offense is very heavily based around getting that one-round KO, and any little thing you can do to prevent a one-round KO is going to go miles towards helping you get that defense win. Now, another example is running Deflect Magic on Brave Lyn. This is because a lot of people like to run Raven Tome T-Adept bow-breaking mages to deal with her. And if she has Deflect Magic, they're not going to be able to finish her off in 2 hits, especially when that second hit is being reduced by 80%. So this can really throw them off their game, and having a unit like Lyn survive a round of combat can be all it takes to get you that defense win, since she has the highest reach in the game at 5 spaces, and it's very easy for her to just cause havoc to the opponent if they can't manage to beat her in one turn. So that's it for the deflect skills. Really awesome to have, and that just brings us right into the next point that I have, which is to use Wings of Mercy on your defense team. Now, I'm going to recommend that you run Wings of Mercy on at least 2 different units, one that has 1 range of attack and one that has 2 range of attack. So this guarantees that you're always going to have a unit that can jump to a weakened ally and be able to attack regardless of where the opponent is positioned. Now, of course, I recommended in the first point to use a Dancer with 1 range of attack. I would say that's enough to get you covered for that. And as far as the ranged unit goes with Wings of Mercy, that's going to be completely up to you because there's a lot of good options for that. So just be creative and think of something that's really going to mess with opponents. Alright, so my next point is to run Vantage in the B slot. Now, not every unit in the game can really apply Vantage well. It's mainly suited for bulky units that can survive a round of combat, such as Ike and Hector and so on. So I would highly recommend running Vantage on these guys because they can really turn the tables on your opponents if they can't be killed in 1 turn. Also, units that have high attack are very good choices for Vantage. And really, the only counter to Vantage is either a weapon that prevents counterattacks or the Hardy-bearing Sacred Seal, which pretty much has been phased out at this point. No one's really running that anymore, so it's not something I would say you need to worry about. So Vantage, really good skill for racking up defense wins. My next bit of advice for you guys is to use the drive skills. Now, the drive skills are kind of like spur skills in the C slot, except they work over 2 spaces. So that makes it really easy, even for the pitiful CPU, to actually make use of these drive skills and provide some stat buffs to your allies. Obviously, the best drive skill to use is going to be Drive Speed 2, which is easy to obtain since it's on Tilt You as a 4-star. So that's a really good way to mess with opponents and possibly prevent a double. So having Drive Speed on a lot of your defense units is really going to help out. So moving on to the next point, I'm recommending that you guys try using Unexpected Skills. Now, you may be wondering, hey Tacho, what is an unexpected skill anyway? What are people not going to be expecting to fight? Well, one example is Miracle. This is a skill that not many people run because it doesn't really offer anything for offense. But when it comes to defense, Miracle can be absolutely devastating since it's going to guarantee that a unit survives with 1 HP. Of course, the issue to Miracle is the fact that it has a 5-hit cooldown, but there are still units that can really activate Miracle fast, especially if you use something like Shield Pulse and a killer weapon that reduces the special cost by 1. Or if you're using a unit that can attack without being counterattacked, such as Brave Lyn or a Dazzling Staff Cleric. So those are good examples for Miracle. Now, as far as the weapons go, you can run those effective against weapons such as Armor Smasher, Heavy Lance, Hammer, the Wolf Tomes, also those are really good, Zanbato, Rider's Bane. All those weapons that deal super effective damage to a unit type are really nice to have for arena defense because it just makes it that much harder for your opponents to attack you, and it also makes it that much harder for them to take a hit from you. Another example of an unexpected skill is Wind Sweep. Now, Wind Sweep is a really interesting skill because I think it has so much hidden potential that a lot of people haven't really caught on to yet. But because it prevents units from double attacking, not many people like to run Wind Sweep. But there are some really good examples of how Wind Sweep can turn the tables on your opponent. And one example is to use Wind Sweep on a unit that has a weapon that can decrease stats. So an example of this would be Female Corrin with Dark Breath. Dark Breath is a really stacked weapon that's going to cause -7 attack and -7 speed to the target foe and all foes in 2 spaces of target. So having Wind Sweep on Corrin with that weapon is going to guarantee she's going to get a hit off, and then she's going to debuff all the foes on the opponent's team. So really nasty, and it makes it very difficult for foes to work around having that stat debuff. And last but not least, Cancel Affinity is of course a really nice skill to have that can really catch people off guard. Now, I know bow units like to have Cancel Affinity because it helps them deal with Raven Tomes, but when you run Cancel Affinity on the colored units, it can make it really hard to see that coming. So good choices right now are definitely blue units, because a lot of people like to run Triangle Adept on their green units, and that's because it gives them a better matchup against Reinhardt. So we can really flip the tables on those green units with Triangle Adept by having Cancel Affinity on a blue unit. So that's really going to mess with people, and if you can catch them off guard, that could be a KO right there. So those are just a couple of examples of unexpected skills you can run. Now, moving on to my next point, I'm going to recommend that you guys run weapons that cannot be counterattacked. Now, these are all really good to have because having weapons that can prevent a foe from counterattacking means that it's impossible to bait these units, and anything that your opponent cannot bait means that they have to waste their turn actually attacking you themselves in order to get a kill. So that can really throw them off their game by having to waste their own attack on killing you instead of using it for something else, when they would really just rather kill you on your phase by baiting you. And of course, Fire Sweep Brave Lyn is the #1 example of this, because her reach is the highest in the game at 5. Also, another good choice is Dazzling Staff Clerics, and of course, the Horse Clerics are going to be #1 on this, because just like Brave Lyn, their 3 range movement and 2 range weapon is going to give them a reach of 5, so it's very easy for them to just run up and attack, and then not even get counter hit. So it's impossible for the foes to bait you, and you can cause a lot of damage to them. It's even worse when your cleric has something like gravity or fear or panic or any of those staff effects that can really mess with the opponent. So the next tip I have for you guys is to use Infantry Pulse if you have access to it. Infantry Pulse is a really awesome skill that can decrease the special cooldown of one of your allies so long as you have more HP than them. So you can start the fight with a unit that has their special attack built up right away, and because of that you can cause some major damage to the opponent, even catch them off guard if they're not even paying attention and they fail to notice that you have your special attack built up. So some good examples of units to make use of Infantry Pulse are Sonya and Mia. That's because they get +10 damage from their weapon if they trigger a special attack, and if you combo that with something like Wrath and you have some really dangerous special attacks like Glacius in the case of Sonya, or Dragon Fang in the case of Mia, you're going to be causing quite a lot of damage to your opponents. So Infantry Pulse gets a thumbs up for defense play. Now my next point is to run debuffing skills such as the Smoke Dagger and, as we already mentioned previously, Dark Breath. Other examples of debuff skills are the Smoke skills in the C-Slot passive, as well as the Attack Smoke Sacred Seal. And don't forget about those ploy skills either, because those are really nice to have, especially Panic Ploy, which can mess with themed teams that rely heavily on having the cavalry buffs or the flyer buffs. But it's even harder to deal with the ploy skills that base on your res. If you put those on a high res unit such as Micaiah or Halloween Henry, you can really guarantee that you're going to be ploying the opponent. Loot is also a really good unit to use ploy skills, since she has 2 right out of the gates, and you can just give her 1 from the Sacred Seal slot. Debuffing skills are just so good to have for defense play because anytime you're dropping your opponent's stats, you're hindering them and making it harder for them to play around. So debuffing skills are really nice to have for defense play. And my final bit of advice for you guys is to use rally skills in the assist slot. This is because you really don't want your units to overextend in defense play, and the CPU is really dumb, so a lot of the times they're just going to overextend. But having a rally skill in the assist slot can help prevent this, because for whatever reason, the CPU finds it the optimal move to always use a rally skill when possible. So by having a rally skill, it's possible that you may prevent one of your units from actually overextending and getting baited by the foe. So having those rally skills is just really helpful for defense play. And that's pretty much it for the advice section of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, hope it was informative and gave you some nice ideas to run on your defense team. And what we're going to do in the next episode is we're going to actually take a look at my defense team, and we're going to put it to the test. I'm going to show you guys my way of testing my own defense team in the game and finding out whether or not it's actually going to work. So all that is coming up in the next video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. And as always, this is your boy Tacho signing out. So cheers, have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.